The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's sky like a silver mountain floating among the clouds. Captain Lee Hyun stood on the observation deck of the orbital station, watching through the reinforced windows as the vessel slowly moved closer. He had never seen anything so beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The ship was called the Harmony, and it carried representatives from 5 different alien worlds. They had been traveling for months to reach Earth, following the radio signals that humans had been sending into space for decades. Today would mark the first official meeting between humanity and other intelligent life in the universe. Lee Hyun adjusted his uniform and checked his reflection in the window. He was 35 years old, had served in the Earth Defense Corps for 12 years, and had commanded this orbital station for the past 3. Nothing in his training had prepared him for this moment. The communication system crackled to life. A strange voice spoke in perfect English, though it sounded like it was being filtered through water. Earth Station Alpha, this is Ambassador Kirix of the Galactic Federation vessel Harmony. We request permission to dock and begin diplomatic proceedings. Lee Hyun picked up the microphone with steady hands, though his heart was beating fast. Harmony, this is Captain Lee Hyun of Earth Station Alpha. Permission granted. Welcome to our solar system. An hour later, Lee Hyun stood in the main docking bay with his senior staff. Dr. Park So-jin, the station's chief scientist, stood to his right. She was a small woman in her 40s with intelligent eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She had spent the last 6 months studying every piece of information they had about the incoming aliens. The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss. What walked through changed everything Lee Hyun thought he knew about life in the universe. Ambassador Kirix was tall and thin, with skin that looked like polished blue stone. His head was larger than a human's, with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on his face. He wore robes that seemed to shimmer and change color as he moved. Behind him walked 4 other beings, each completely different from the others. One looked like a walking tree with bark-like skin and branches where arms should be. Another was short and round, covered in what appeared to be golden fur. The third had 6 legs and moved like a giant insect, but wore clothing and carried what looked like a briefcase. The fourth was the most unusual. It seemed to be made of living crystal that reflected light in rainbow patterns. Ambassador Kirix approached Lee Hyun and made a gesture that might have been a bow. When he spoke, the words came from a small device attached to his robes. Captain Lee Hyun, it is an honor to meet you. I am Ambassador Kirix of the Velthari people. These are my colleagues from the worlds of Dendros, Aurum, Chitex, and Prism. Lee Hyun had practiced this moment many times, but his mouth still felt dry. Ambassador Kirix, welcome to Earth Station Alpha. On behalf of all humanity, I greet you in peace and friendship. The next several hours passed in a blur of introductions, translations, and careful diplomacy. The aliens were polite and curious, asking many questions about human culture, technology, and history. They seemed particularly interested in Earth itself, which they called your birth world. Dr. Park So-jin explained that Earth was a diverse planet with many different climates and environments. She showed them pictures of forests, oceans, deserts, and mountains. The aliens looked at these images with what appeared to be wonder, though it was hard to read expressions on faces so different from human ones. Ambassador Kirix leaned forward as he studied a photograph of a Korean mountain forest. Your world appears to have much variety in its surface features. We have studied your transmissions for many cycles, but images cannot convey the true nature of a place. The tree-like alien from Dendros spoke through its own translator device. On my world, all environments are similar. We have great forests that cover the entire surface. There is little variation from one region to another. The golden-furred being from Aurum nodded in agreement. Aurum has vast plains and gentle hills. The weather is always mild and pleasant. Your world seems much more dynamic. Dr. Park So-jin smiled. Earth is indeed diverse. We have regions where the temperature can range from burning hot to freezing cold. Some areas receive massive amounts of rain, while others might not see water for months at a time. The crystal being from Prism made a sound like wind chimes. Its translator interpreted this as laughter. How do your people survive in such varying conditions? On Prism, our environment is perfectly controlled. The temperature, humidity, and atmospheric composition never change. Humans are very adaptable, Lee Hyun explained. We have learned to live in almost every environment on our planet, from hot deserts to frozen tundra, from high mountains to deep valleys. Ambassador Kirix was quiet for a long moment, his 4 eyes focusing on different images of Earth. Finally, he spoke. We would very much like to visit your birth world, if such a thing would be possible. To truly understand humanity, we believe we must see the environment that shaped your species. Lee Hyun exchanged a glance with Dr. Park So-jin. They had discussed this possibility during their preparation meetings. A visit to Earth's surface would be a significant step in building trust between species. We would be honored to host you on Earth, Lee Hyun said carefully. However, I must warn you that our world can be unpredictable. The environment changes rapidly, and there are many life forms besides humans. The insect-like being from Kitex clicked its mandibles together. Life forms. Yes, we have detected many biological signatures from your world. Are these creatures dangerous to visitors? Dr. Park So-jin laughed, though she tried to keep it quiet. Most of Earth's wildlife is harmless to humans. We have learned to coexist with the other species on our planet. I think you would find it fascinating to observe how different life forms interact in their natural habitats. Ambassador Kirix consulted with his colleagues in languages that sounded like music, static, and flowing water, all mixed together. After several minutes, he turned back to the humans. We have decided that we would like to accept your invitation. A cultural exchange visit to your birth world would help us understand your species before we proceed with formal treaties and agreements. Lee Hyun felt a surge of excitement mixed with nervousness. Having aliens visit Earth would be historic, but it also carried risks. Earth was not as controlled and predictable as these beings seemed to expect. We would suggest a visit to one of our nature preserves, he said. There is a beautiful area in the mountains of Korea where you could observe both the natural environment and see how humans interact with it. The scenery is spectacular, and it would give you a good sense of what Earth is like. Dr. Park So-jin nodded in agreement. It would be perfect. The preserve has hiking trails, diverse plant life, and wildlife that you could observe safely. It would show you how humans appreciate and protect our natural world. Ambassador Kirix seemed pleased with this suggestion. A nature preserve sounds ideal. We look forward to observing humans in their natural habitat and learning about your relationship with your birth world. As the meeting concluded and the aliens prepared to return to their ship, Lee Hyun couldn't shake the feeling that they might be underestimating what nature meant on Earth. The aliens came from worlds that sounded peaceful and controlled. Earth was many things, but controlled was not one of them. Still, he thought, what could go wrong with a simple walk through the woods? 3 days after the first meeting, Ambassador Kirix and his delegation prepared for their journey to Earth's surface. The alien ship's medical bay buzzed with activity as each delegate received protective treatments and equipment checks. Dr. Vexus, the Draknor security chief, stood nearly 7 feet tall with gray-scaled skin and yellow eyes. He supervised the preparation with military precision. All delegates will wear environmental suits at all times, he announced through his translator. The atmosphere readings from the human world showed dangerous levels of oxygen and unpredictable weather patterns. Ambassador Kirix adjusted his breathing apparatus. His blue skin looked pale under the artificial lights of the medical bay. Dr. Vexus, the humans assured us that their world is safe for visitors. They live there without protective equipment. The humans evolved on that world, Vexus replied firmly. They are adapted to its harsh conditions. We are not. The atmospheric scans show this planet has experienced massive volcanic eruptions, ice ages, and asteroid impacts. Any world that unstable cannot be trusted. The golden-furred delegate from Orem, whose name was Golden, trembled slightly as technicians fitted him with a protective suit. On Orem, our weather is always the same temperature. The wind never blows harder than a gentle breeze. I have read that Earth has something called storms that can destroy entire settlements. Tree bark, the Daudi, plant-like being from Dendros, swayed nervously. My people have never experienced anything more dangerous than a falling fruit. The human data files mention creatures called hurricanes and earthquakes. How do they survive such chaos? The crystal being, Shannara from Prism, chimed softly. Perhaps the humans are much stronger than they appear. Their world has clearly made them into warriors just to survive each day. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, Captain Lee Hyun waited at the landing site with Dr. Park So-jin and Kim Tae-ho, a park ranger who knew the mountain preserve better than anyone. The landing zone sat at the base of the Taebaek Mountains, surrounded by thick pine forests and rolling hills. Kim Tae-ho was a sturdy man in his 40s with weathered hands and kind eyes. He had worked in these mountains for over 20 years and knew every trail, stream, and animal that lived there. He wore simple hiking clothes and carried a basic backpack. Are you sure about this? Dr. Park So-jin asked, watching the alien shuttle descend from the sky. They seem really nervous about being here. Lee Hyun shrugged. They wanted to see Earth. This is Earth. The mountains are beautiful this time of year, and the weather forecast is perfect. What could be more peaceful than a nature walk? Kim Tae-ho chuckled. City people always think the mountains are peaceful until they actually get here. But these aliens come from space. They should be able to handle a little fresh air. The shuttle landed with barely a whisper, its advanced technology making the process look effortless. The doors opened, and the alien delegation emerged wearing bulky protective suits that made them look like they were exploring a toxic wasteland. Ambassador, Kirix approached the humans, his movements careful and measured. Captain Lee Hyun, we are grateful for this opportunity. Our equipment indicates that the atmospheric conditions are within acceptable parameters, though we will maintain our protective gear as a precaution. Dr. Park So-jin smiled warmly. Welcome to the Taebaek Mountains. This preserve is one of our most beautiful natural areas. You'll see forests, streams, and many different types of plants and animals. Vexus stepped forward, his yellow eyes scanning the tree line. Animals. Yes, our sensors detect multiple life forms in the immediate area. Are any of these creatures hostile? Kim Tae-ho looked puzzled. Hostile? Well, I suppose if you bothered a wild boar or got between a mother bear and her cubs, you might have problems. But mostly the animals around here just want to be left alone. The word bear sent a visible shiver through the alien group. Golden's golden fur stood on end. Bears. Our database indicates these are large carnivorous mammals. Why do you allow such dangerous predators to live so close to your settlements? They're not really carnivorous, Dr. Park So-jin explained. Bears are omnivores. They eat berries, fish, insects, and plants mostly. They're actually quite shy and avoid humans when possible. Tree bark made a sound like wind through leaves. On Dendros, the largest creature is what you might call a butterfly. It feeds on flower nectar and is no bigger than my smallest branch. How large do these bears grow? Kim Tae-ho thought for a moment. A big brown bear might weigh about 600 pounds. Black bears are smaller, maybe 300 pounds. But, like I said, they don't bother people if people don't bother them. The aliens exchanged what appeared to be worried glances, though their different facial structures made emotions hard to read. 600 pounds of wild animal seemed impossible to coexist with peacefully. As the group began walking along the forest trail, the aliens stayed close together in the center of the path. Their environmental suits beeped constantly as they scanned everything around them. Every bird call, every rustling leaf, every snapping twig made them jump. Dr. Park So-jin tried to ease their fears by explaining the ecosystem. This forest has been here for thousands of years. Humans have learned to live alongside all the creatures that call it home. We're not the only species on Earth, so we've had to learn to share. Shannara's crystal body flickered with nervous light. On Prism, we engineered our world to be perfectly safe. There are no unpredictable elements, no weather changes, no wild creatures, no natural disasters. Everything is controlled and planned. That sounds boring, Kim Tae-ho said without thinking, then quickly added, I mean, that sounds very organized and efficient. Vexus stopped suddenly, his scanner beeping rapidly. I am detecting a large life form approximately 50 meters ahead. It appears to be moving toward us. The humans paused and listened. Kim Tae-ho heard what sounded like a deer moving through the underbrush, probably heading to the stream for water. "Probably just a deer," he said casually. "Deer, Ambassador," Kirix repeated. "Our files indicate these are herbivorous mammals with pointed antlers. Are they aggressive?" Lee Hyun almost laughed. "Deer are completely harmless. They eat grass and leaves. If they see us, they'll probably run away." As if summoned by his words, a young deer stepped onto the trail about 30 feet ahead of them. It looked at the group with large dark eyes, ears perked forward with curiosity. The alien reaction was immediate and dramatic. Vexus activated an energy shield that surrounded him in blue light. Golden dove behind Treebark, who began making distressed creaking sounds. Shannara's crystal body flashed red in what was clearly an alarm signal. The deer, startled by the sudden lights and sounds, bounded away into the forest with graceful leaps. Kim Tae-ho stared at the aliens in amazement. It was just a deer. They're completely peaceful. Ambassador Kirix slowly deactivated his defensive systems. That creature had sharp projections from its head. Our analysis indicates those could be used as weapons. "Those are antlers," Dr. Park Seo-jin explained patiently. "Male deer use them during mating season to compete with other males. They don't attack other species with them." Vexus kept his scanner running continuously. "If that was one of your peaceful creatures, I am concerned about what we might encounter that you consider dangerous." The humans exchanged glances. If the aliens were this frightened by a deer, how would they react to anything actually worth worrying about? The mountain preserve was home to wild boar, several species of bears, and the occasional wolf pack. Kim Tae-ho decided not to mention any of those just yet. As they continued deeper into the forest, the aliens remained on high alert. Every sound, every movement in the bushes, every bird flying overhead sent them into defensive positions. The humans began to realize that their guests came from worlds where danger simply did not exist. What seemed like a pleasant nature walk to the humans felt like a journey through a hostile alien planet to the visitors. And they had not even seen anything truly wild yet. 2 hours into their forest walk, Kim Tae-ho stopped beside a large pine tree and examined something that had caught his eye. The other members of the group gathered around him, though the aliens maintained what they considered a safe distance. "Well, look at that," Kim Tae-ho said, running his fingers along deep grooves carved into the tree bark. The mark started about 4 feet from the ground and extended up another 3 feet. Each individual claw mark was nearly an inch wide and gouged deep into the wood. Dr. Vexus immediately activated his scanners, and the device began beeping frantically. The readings showed traces of organic material, territorial marking chemicals, and something the scanner labeled as large predator indicators. "What created these marks?" Ambassador Kirix asked, though his tone suggested he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. Kim Tae-ho studied the scratches more closely. "Brown bear," he said matter-of-factly. "Big male, probably. They do this to mark their territory and show other bears how large and strong they are. Like leaving a calling card." The word bear sent the alien delegation into immediate panic mode. Golden's golden fur stood completely on end, making him look twice his normal size. Tree bark began swaying rapidly, his branches creaking with distress. Shannara's crystal body flashed urgent red warning colors. Dr. Vexus pulled out what appeared to be a weapon and began scanning the surrounding forest. "How large was this creature? When was it here? Is it still in the immediate area?" "Based on the height of these marks, I'd say it was a pretty big one," Kim Tae-ho replied, seemingly unconcerned by the aliens' panic. "Maybe 7 feet tall when standing upright. Could weigh anywhere from 5 to 800 pounds. Dr. Park Seo-jin noticed the aliens' distress and tried to be reassuring. "Bears are actually quite peaceful most of the time. They're more afraid of us than we are of them. This marking is probably several days old." Vexus stared at her in disbelief. "You claim to be more frightening than a creature that weighs 800 pounds and can carve through solid wood with its claws?" Lee Hyun shrugged. "Humans have been living alongside bears for thousands of years. We've learned how to coexist. Bears mostly want to find food and be left alone. As long as you don't threaten them or get between a mother and her cubs, they'll usually avoid contact. Ambassador Kirix approached the marked tree cautiously, his four eyes focusing on different aspects of the claw marks. These gouges penetrate nearly 2 inches into solid wood. What material are these claws composed of? Just regular keratin, like human fingernails, Kim Tae-ho explained. But bears are incredibly strong. They can flip over rocks that weigh several hundred pounds when they're looking for insects to eat. Tree bark made a sound like branches breaking in a storm. On dendros, our strongest creatures are the root diggers. They might disturb soil to a depth of 6 inches when searching for nutrients. The idea of a creature that can move objects weighing hundreds of pounds is beyond our understanding. Golden trembled as he examined the claw marks. On Aurum, our largest predator is the size of what you might call a small dog. It eats tiny insects and spends most of its time sleeping. These bears sound like living siege engines. Dr. Park So-jin pulled out her tablet and showed the aliens some nature footage she had downloaded before the trip. The first video showed a brown bear peacefully fishing for salmon in a river. To human eyes, it was a beautiful scene of nature and harmony. To the aliens, it looked like a monster effortlessly plucking large fish from moving water with deadly precision. The second video showed a mother bear with 2 cubs playing in a meadow. The cubs tumbled over each other while their mother watched protectively nearby. Those smaller ones, Shannara chimed nervously. Are they the offspring? Yes, those are cubs, Dr. Park So-jin replied. Bear mothers are very protective of their young. That's one of the few times bears might become aggressive toward humans. Vexus was taking detailed readings from the claw marks while watching the videos. These creatures possess the strength to damage solid wood, the speed to catch fish from moving water, and the territorial instincts to attack perceived threats. Yet you claim humans coexist peacefully with them. Kim Tae-ho nodded. Most of the time, yes, rangers like me encounter bears regularly. Usually they just look at you for a moment and then walk away. They have better things to do than bother with humans. The third video showed a park ranger, much like Kim Tae-ho, calmly walking past a bear that was feeding on berries. The bear glanced up briefly, then returned to its meal while the human continued on his way. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the human showed no fear, carried no weapons, and treated the encounter as completely routine. That human is demonstrating either incredible courage or complete insanity, Ambassador Kirix observed. How does he know the creature will not attack? Experience and understanding, Lee Hyun replied. Park rangers study animal behavior. They learn to read body language and understand when animals are relaxed versus when they might be agitated. It's not courage or insanity, it's knowledge. Dr. Vexus holstered his scanner and looked around the forest with new eyes. If creatures of this size and capability are common in your natural areas, what other life forms should we be aware of? Kim Tae-ho thought for a moment. Well, there are wild boar in these mountains. They're smaller than bears but can be more unpredictable. We've got wolves, though they usually stay away from people. Some large birds of prey. Venomous snakes, but most of them are small and shy. Each item on Kim Tae-ho's casual list sent new waves of alarm through the alien delegation. Venomous creatures, pack hunters, aggressive wild pigs with tusks. Golden was hyperventilating inside his protective suit. Your world is populated by an entire ecosystem of apex predators, and humans simply walk among them without protective armor or weapons. Well, most hikers carry bear spray, Dr. Park So-jin added helpfully. It's like a strong pepper spray that deters bears if they get too close. Very effective and doesn't hurt the animals. The idea that humans had developed non-lethal deterrents for creatures that could kill them bare-handed was almost incomprehensible to the aliens. On their worlds, any creature capable of harming an intelligent being would be eliminated or contained immediately. Treebark swayed thoughtfully. On Dendros, we have eliminated all creatures larger than what you would call a rabbit. Our world is perfectly manicured and safe. The concept of coexisting with dangerous fauna is foreign to us. Dangerous is relative, Kim Tae-ho said. Bears aren't trying to hurt anyone. They're just living their lives, same as us. Humans learned long ago that we share this planet with other species. We don't own it. We're just part of the ecosystem. Ambassador Kirix was quietly updating his report to the Galactic Federation. His initial assessment of humans as a peaceful, nature-loving species was being rapidly revised. Any species that could coexist casually with such formidable predators was clearly more resilient and adaptable than their broadcasts had suggested. As the group prepared to continue their hike, Dr. Vexus made one more scan of the area. "I am detecting multiple large life-form signatures within a 2-kilometer radius," he announced. "Whatever mark this tree may not be the only one of its kind in the immediate vicinity." Kim Tae-ho grinned. "Oh, there are definitely several bears in this area. This is prime habitat for them. Lots of berry bushes, streams with fish, and plenty of space to roam." The aliens exchanged what could only be described as looks of terror. Lee Hyun began to wonder if bringing them to a nature preserve had been the best idea. The aliens clearly had no frame of reference for a world where intelligent beings coexisted with large predators. "Should we head back?" Dr. Park So-jin asked quietly. They seemed pretty stressed. Kim Tae-ho looked at the alien delegation, all of whom were now staying in a tight defensive formation and scanning constantly for threats. "We've only covered about a quarter of the trail," he said. "The really beautiful scenic overlook is still ahead." Ambassador Kirix overheard the conversation. Despite his obvious fear, his curiosity was stronger. "We have come this far to understand your species. We would like to continue, though perhaps with increased vigilance." Dr. Vexus adjusted his weapon settings and activated additional protective systems. "We will proceed, but I want continuous scans of our surroundings. If we encounter one of these bear creatures, we retreat immediately." As they walked deeper into the forest, the aliens remained on high alert. Every sound made them jump. Every shadow could be hiding a predator. Every breath of wind might carry the scent of danger. The humans, meanwhile, enjoyed the beautiful day, the fresh mountain air, and the peaceful sounds of nature around them. None of them realized they were walking directly toward an encounter that would fundamentally change how the galaxy viewed humanity. The trail wound upward through dense pine forest, with shafts of sunlight filtering through the canopy above. Kim Tae-ho led the group at a steady pace, pointing out various plants and rock formations as they climbed. The humans seemed completely relaxed while the alien delegation maintained their tight defensive formation. Dr. Vexus kept his scanner running continuously. The device had been beeping softly for the past 20 minutes, indicating various life forms in the surrounding forest. Most were small, probably birds and squirrels, but there were several larger signatures that kept him on edge. "The trail levels out just ahead," Kim Tae-ho announced. "There's a clearing with a great view of the valley below. It's one of my favorite spots in the whole preserve." Ambassador Kirix was breathing heavily inside his environmental suit, though whether from exertion or stress was unclear. "How much further must we travel to reach this viewpoint?" "Just around that bend," Kim Tae-ho replied, gesturing toward a curve in the trail about 50 meters ahead. "The clearing opens up right there." Golden had been jumping at every sound for the past hour. His golden fur remained standing on end, and his protective suit systems were working overtime to keep him calm. "Are you certain this route is safe? My sensors indicate multiple large life forms in the immediate area." Dr. Park So-jin checked her own handheld scanner, which showed much less detailed readings than the alien technology. "I'm picking up some wildlife activity, but that's normal for this area. Bears, deer, maybe some wild boar. They're probably just going about their daily routines." The casual way she mentioned bears and wild boar as routine wildlife made Treebark's branches creak with anxiety. "On Dendros, we would evacuate an entire sector if creatures of such size were detected." "How do you maintain such calm composure, Lee?" Hyun smiled. "I suppose it's just what we're used to. Humans have been hiking in areas like this for generations. My grandfather used to take me camping in these same mountains when I was a child. We saw bears several times and they never bothered us." Shannara's crystal body flickered with confused colors. "Your species deliberately exposes its young to environments containing apex predators? This seems counterproductive for species survival." "It teaches children to respect nature and understand their place in the ecosystem," Kim Tae-ho explained. "Kids who grow up around wildlife are more likely to become good stewards of the environment." As they approached the bend in the trail, Dr. Vexus's scanner began beeping more rapidly. He held up a hand to stop the group. I am detecting a very large life form directly ahead. Mass approximately 400 kilograms. It appears to be stationary but could be feeding or resting. 400 kilograms meant nearly 900 pounds. The aliens all activated their defensive systems simultaneously. Energy shields hummed. To life, weapons were charged, and emergency beacons began transmitting their location to the orbiting ship. Kim Tae-ho paused and listened carefully. He could hear something moving around in the berry bushes just beyond the bend. The sounds were rhythmic and peaceful, probably an animal feeding. Sounds like something's having lunch in the blackberry patch, he said quietly. Should we not retreat to a safe distance and wait for the creature to leave the area? Ambassador Kirix asked, his four eyes darting nervously between the trail ahead and potential escape routes. We could, Lee Hyun replied, but we might be waiting a long time. Bears can spend hours feeding in a good berry patch. Besides, if we're quiet and keep our distance, it probably won't even notice us. The idea of intentionally approaching a creature that weighed nearly half a ton seemed like madness to the aliens. Dr. Vexus was already calculating the fastest route back to their shuttle and estimating how long it would take to call in aerial support. I strongly advise against proceeding, Vexus said firmly. My tactical analysis indicates an unacceptable level of risk. We should establish a defensive perimeter and request immediate extraction. Kim Tae-ho looked genuinely puzzled. It's just a bear eating berries. They're usually pretty mellow when they're feeding. We'll stay on the trail, keep some distance, and move past quietly. Standard procedure. The concept of standard procedure for encountering enormous wild predators was completely foreign to the aliens. On their worlds, such encounters would trigger planetary emergency protocols. Dr. Park So-jin pulled out her tablet and quickly scrolled through some reference materials. Here, look at this, she said, showing the aliens a video of hikers calmly observing a bear from about 50 meters away. This is exactly what we'll do. Stay calm, keep our distance, and let the bear do its thing. In the video, the bear briefly looked up at the humans, then returned to feeding. The hikers watched for a few minutes, took some photos, and then continued. On their way, Golden was trembling so hard that his environmental suit stabilizers were struggling to compensate. Those humans are standing within striking distance of a creature that could kill them instantly. How do they remain so calm? Because the bear has no reason to attack them, Dr. Park So-jin explained patiently. It's focused on food, they're not threatening it, and they're keeping a respectful distance. The bear is probably more annoyed by their presence than anything else. Tree bark made a sound like wind through dead leaves. On Dendros, we have strict protocols for any creature larger than a seed pod. They are immediately contained or relocated to unpopulated areas. That would be impossible on Earth, Lee Hyun said. We have millions of large animals spread across every continent. We've learned to share the space instead of trying to control everything. Kim Tae-ho had been listening to the sounds from around the bend, and he made a decision. I'm going to take a quick look and see what we're dealing with, he said. You all stay here. Before anyone could object, he walked casually toward the bend in the trail. The aliens watched in horror as their guide deliberately approached what their scanners identified as a massive predator. Dr. Vexus raised his weapon. Should the creature attack, I will provide covering fire for his retreat. It won't attack, Dr. Park So-jin said confidently, though she kept her own scanner ready just in case. Kim Tae-ho disappeared around the bend for about 30 seconds. Then he returned, walking at the same casual pace. Brown bear, he confirmed. Big male, probably. Around 600 pounds. He's found a great patch of blackberries and doesn't seem interested in anything else. The aliens stared at him in amazement. He had just conducted a visual reconnaissance mission on a creature that could tear him apart, and he looked completely relaxed. The trail goes right past the berry patch, Kim Tae-ho continued. We can walk by on the far side and get to the viewpoint without bothering him. Just need to stay quiet and move normally. No sudden movements or loud noises. Ambassador Kirix was frantically updating his report to the Federation. His files now contained detailed observations of humans casually approaching apex predators for reconnaissance purposes. His species would require psychological evaluation protocols for any future human contact. Perhaps we could observe this creature from our current position? Shannara suggested, her crystalline structure flickering with nervous energy. You can't see anything from here? Kim Tae-ho replied. The trail curves around some rocks, but the viewpoint beyond the clearing is really spectacular. Best panoramic view in the whole preserve. Dr. Vexus was running tactical calculations through his suit's computer systems. If we proceed, we will be within 50 meters of a creature capable of killing any of us instantly. My combat protocols classify this as a suicide mission. Lee Hyun tried to be reassuring. Rangers walk past feeding bears all the time. It's really not that dangerous if you know what you're doing. Kim has 20 years of experience in these mountains. The aliens huddled together for a quick conference. Their translators created a mixture of musical tones, static bursts, and crystalline chimes as they debated in their native languages. Finally, Ambassador Kirix turned back to the humans. We have decided to trust your expertise, though our survival instincts strongly object to this plan. We will follow your lead, but we request permission to maintain our defensive systems in an active state. Fair enough, Kim Tae-ho agreed. Just try to keep the energy shields dimmed down. Bright lights might startle the bear, and that could cause problems for everyone. The group prepared to move forward. The aliens checked and rechecked their equipment while the humans simply adjusted their backpacks and made sure their water bottles were secure. As they approached the bend in the trail, Dr. Vexus whispered into his communicator. Command, this is Away Team Alpha. We are about to make close contact with a large predator species. If we do not report in within 10 minutes, consider initiating emergency extraction protocols. Kim Tae-ho overheard this and grinned. 10 minutes? We should be past the bear and at the viewpoint in about 3 minutes. This isn't a military operation, just a nature walk. They reached the bend in the trail and Kim Tae-ho gestured for everyone to move quietly. He stepped around the rocks first, followed by the other humans, with the alien delegation bringing up the rear in tight formation. What they saw around that bend would become the most significant moment in human-alien relations since first contact. The massive brown bear stood in the center of the clearing, surrounded by thick blackberry bushes heavy with ripe fruit. It was even larger than Kim Tae-ho had estimated, probably closer to 700 pounds of solid muscle and fur. The bear was focused entirely on the berries, methodically stripping them from the bushes with surprising gentleness for such a powerful creature. For a moment, the only sounds were the soft rustling of leaves as the bear fed, and the quiet hum of alien environmental suits. The humans stood calmly on the trail, observing the magnificent animal from about 40 meters away. Then the bear caught their scent. It lifted its massive head and turned toward the group, berry juice staining its muzzle dark purple. For several seconds, the bear simply looked at them with small, intelligent eyes. Then, curious about these strange visitors to its territory, it rose up on its hind legs to get a better view. Standing upright, the bear towered nearly 8 feet tall. Its powerful arms hung at its sides, revealing claws that looked like curved black daggers. The creature swayed slightly as it studied the unusual gathering of beings on its trail. The alien reaction was immediate and catastrophic. Dr. Vexus shouted, something in his native language that the translator rendered as, "Apex death creature, prepare for combat." His energy rifle powered up with a high-pitched whine as he took aim at the bear. Ambassador Kirix activated every defensive system his suit possessed. Energy shields, emergency beacons, and distress signals all came online simultaneously. His 4 eyes went wide with terror as he began transmitting what he believed were his final words to the Federation. Golden screamed and dove behind the nearest tree, his golden fur now standing so straight it looked like he had been struck by lightning. His suit's medical systems detected a full panic attack and began administering emergency medications. Treebark's branches began thrashing wildly as he tried to retreat, but his root system had automatically anchored him to the ground in defensive mode. He was stuck in place, creaking and groaning with distress. Shannara's crystal body flashed brilliant red warning colors, while emitting a sound like breaking glass. Her species' natural response to extreme danger was to become as visible as possible, to warn others, which made her shine like a disco ball. All of this noise and light should have sent the bear running in the opposite direction. Instead, the creature seemed mildly curious about the light show. It tilted its head to one side like a giant dog trying to understand a new toy. Meanwhile, the three humans stood exactly where they had been, watching the bear with calm interest. Kim Tae-ho glanced at his wristwatch, calculating how long they could observe before needing to move on to stay on schedule. Dr. Park So-jin pulled out her tablet and began taking photos of the bear for her research files. Lee Hyun simply enjoyed the rare opportunity to see such a magnificent wild animal up close. The contrast between the human and alien reactions was startling. Dr. Vexus was now shouting tactical instructions to his fellow delegates, while maintaining target lock on the bear. Maintain defensive positions, do not break formation, prepare for immediate extraction. Ambassador Kirix was broadcasting emergency signals to their orbiting ship. Mayday, Mayday. Ground team under attack by Apex Predator. Request immediate. Orbital support. Golden had activated his suit's emergency medical systems and was hyperventilating so badly that his oxygen recyclers could barely keep up. It's going to kill us all. Why are the humans not running? Through all of this chaos, the bear remained standing on its hind legs, looking mildly interested in the strange light and sound show. It made a soft, huffing sound, which in bear language roughly meant, "What are all these weird creatures doing in my berry patch?" Captain Lee Hyun turned toward the panicking aliens with a slightly bemused expression on his face. The bear was clearly not aggressive, the humans were obviously not in danger, and the aliens' reactions seemed completely out of proportion to the situation. In the calm, matter-of-fact tone he might use to comment on the weather, Lee Hyun said, "Relax, it's just a bear." The 5 words hit the alien delegation like a physical blow. Just a bear. The humans were referring to this massive apex predator, this creature that could kill any of them with a single swipe of its claws, as just a bear, as if it were no more dangerous than a houseplant. Dr. Vexus lowered his weapon slightly, confusion replacing panic. Just a bear? That creature masses over 300 kilograms and possesses natural weapons capable of penetrating battle armor. Yeah, Kim Tae-ho agreed cheerfully. He's a big one. Probably the dominant male in this territory. Look how healthy he is. Perfect coat condition. The bear, apparently bored with the strange visitors, dropped back down to all fours and returned to eating berries. It grabbed a particularly loaded branch and stripped it clean with one smooth motion of its tongue. Dr. Park So-jin took several more photos. "Beautiful specimen," she murmured. "I'd guess he's about 8 or 9 years old." Prime of his life, Ambassador Kirix slowly deactivated his emergency systems, though he kept his defensive shields running at minimum power. The creature is no longer displaying threatening posture. Is it safe to assume the immediate danger has passed? Lee Hyun looked genuinely puzzled by the question. There was never any danger. Bears don't attack people unless they're startled, cornered, or protecting cubs. This guy is just having lunch, D. If to prove the point, Kim Tae-ho reached into his backpack and pulled out an apple. He held it up so the bear could see it, then gently tossed it to land about 10 feet from the animal. The aliens watched in horror as their guide voluntarily interacted with the creature they had identified as an apex predator. The bear looked at the apple, sniffed it carefully, then picked it up and bit into it with obvious enjoyment. It glanced toward Kim Tae-ho with what might have been gratitude, then wandered back to the berry bushes to continue its meal. "See?" Kim Tae-ho said to the stunned aliens. "Just a big, peaceful animal doing bear things. He got a snack, we got to see some amazing wildlife behavior." Everyone wins. Golden emerged from behind his tree, still trembling. "You deliberately fed the apex predator. You made direct contact with a creature that could have killed you instantly." "I gave him an apple," Kim Tae-ho corrected. "Bears love fruit. It's most of their diet during berry season. I probably made his day." Dr. Vexus was running continuous scans on the bear, trying to understand how the humans could be so calm around such a dangerous creature. My tactical analysis indicates this organism possesses sufficient strength to tear through our shuttle's hull plating. Yet you treat it like a domestic animal. Not domestic, Dr. Park Sojin clarified. Wild and free, exactly as it should be. But not dangerous to us unless we do something stupid. Bears and humans have coexisted on this planet for thousands of years. Treebark slowly retracted his defensive root anchors and began swaying normally again. On Dendros, any creature capable of harming an intelligent being would be immediately relocated or eliminated. Your species allows apex predators to roam freely in areas where your people travel. This is their home, Lee Hyun explained simply. We're the visitors here. The bear has every right to be in this forest. We're just passing through. Shannara's crystalline body gradually shifted from alarming red back to her normal prismatic colors. Your species has developed a philosophical approach to coexistence with dangerous fauna. This is unprecedented in Federation records. The bear finished the apple and licked its lips contentedly. It gave the group one more glance, huffed softly, and then ambled deeper into the forest. Within moments, the massive creature had disappeared, completely into the trees, moving with surprising grace for something so large. Show's over, Kim Tae-ho announced. The viewpoint is just through that gap in the trees. Best panoramic view in the preserve. As they walked past the berry patch where the bear had been feeding, the aliens maintained maximum alertness. Their scanners showed that the creature was moving away from them, but they could hardly believe they had survived an encounter with what their technology classified as an apex predator. Ambassador Kirix was updating his report in real time, trying to find words to describe what he had just witnessed. Humans had not only remained calm in the presence of a massive predator, but had actually interacted with it peacefully. One of them had voluntarily fed the creature. The implications were staggering. Either humans were the most fearless species in the galaxy, or they were so adapted to danger that they no longer recognized it as such. Dr. Vexus holstered his weapon but kept his scanners active. I must ask Captain Lee Hyun, is this encounter typical of human outdoor activities? Lee Hyun thought about it for a moment. Well, we don't see bears every time we go hiking. But it's not exactly rare either. National parks probably have hundreds of bear encounters with visitors every year. Hundreds. Ambassador Kirix repeated faintly. Your species deliberately enters territories inhabited by apex predators for recreational purposes. We call it hiking, Dr. Park Sojin said with a smile. It's very popular. Millions of people do it every year. Great exercise, fresh air, beautiful scenery, and sometimes you get to see amazing wildlife. The aliens exchanged glances that somehow managed to convey their shared disbelief despite their vastly different facial structures. Humans engaged in recreational activities that would be classified as extreme. 3 hours later, the alien delegation sat in the main conference room aboard the Harmony, their environmental suits finally removed and their defensive systems powered down. Ambassador Kirix faced a communication screen displaying the concerned faces of the Galactic Federation Council. Let me understand this correctly, said High Counselor Nexus, a tall being with skin like polished silver. You encountered an apex predator weighing over 300 kilograms and the humans treated this as a routine nature observation? Ambassador Kirix's 4 eyes shifted uncomfortably. That is correct, High Counselor. The creature was capable of killing any member of our delegation instantly, yet the humans showed no fear whatsoever. One of them voluntarily fed the beast. Dr. Vexus stepped forward, his scanner data ready for presentation. I have detailed readings from the encounter. The creature's claws were capable of penetrating standard battle armor. Its muscle density suggested lifting capacity of over 1,000 kilograms. By all tactical assessments, it was a walking weapon system. And the humans called it just a bear, Golden added, his golden fur still slightly ruffled from stress. They used the word just as if it were no more dangerous than a flower. High Counselor Nexus looked troubled. Show us the documentation from this encounter. The conference room lights dimmed as Dr. Vexus activated his recording systems. The footage showed the entire bear encounter from multiple angles captured by alien sensors. The council watched in stunned silence as the massive predator rose to its full height, while the humans remained completely calm. "Pause there," ordered Counselor Prism, whose crystalline structure was similar to Shannara's. "Analyze the human, physiological responses during this moment." Dr. Vexus highlighted the human bio-readings on screen. Heart rates remained normal, stress hormones showed no elevation, muscle tension was consistent with relaxed states. They were genuinely unafraid. The council members exchanged glances of disbelief. Any rational species should have triggered immediate fight-or-flight responses when confronted with such a predator. "Continue. The recording," High Counselor Nexus ordered. They watched as Kim Tae-ho casually tossed an apple to the bear, then saw the animal accept the offering peacefully before wandering away. "The human deliberately initiated contact," Counselor Dendros observed, his bark-like skin creaking with concern. This was not accidental proximity. It was intentional interaction with an apex predator. Back on Earth, Dr. Park So-jin was in her laboratory uploading her research files. She had collected extensive data on alien reactions to Earth's wildlife and was preparing a comprehensive report for the Earth Defense Corps captain. Lee Hyun entered the lab, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "How are you coming with the analysis?" "Fascinating. Results," Dr. Park So-jin replied, accepting the coffee gratefully. "The aliens' fear response to terrestrial fauna is far more extreme than we anticipated. They classified a white-tailed deer as a potential threat." "Really?" Lee Hyun sat down and looked at her preliminary findings. "I thought they were just being cautious about the bear." "No, they've been in a state of elevated stress since we entered the forest. Their homeworlds appear to have eliminated all dangerous fauna millennia ago. They have no frame of reference for coexisting with predators." Dr. Park So-jin pulled up comparative data on alien homeworlds. "Look at this. The Velthari homeworld has no predator species larger than what we would consider a house cat. Aurum has completely domesticated their entire ecosystem. Dendros eliminated all mobile fauna above insect level." Lee Hyun studied the data with growing amazement. "They're not just afraid of bears. They're afraid of the concept of wild animals, in general." "Exactly. From their perspective, humans are either incredibly brave or completely insane to live alongside creatures like bears, wolves, and mountain lions." Meanwhile, aboard the Harmony, Ambassador Kirix was presenting additional evidence to the Federation Council. Dr. Park So-jin had provided them with nature documentaries that she thought would help them understand Earth's ecosystem. To the aliens, these films looked like horror movies. "This footage shows humans swimming in water inhabited by creatures called sharks," Ambassador Kirix reported. "Sharks are described as apex marine predators with multiple rows of razor-sharp teeth." The documentary showed marine biologists diving with great white sharks, some of the most feared predators in Earth's oceans. The humans in the footage appeared relaxed and even excited to be near the massive creatures. "Here we see humans observing creatures called lions in their natural habitat," Kirix continued. "Lions are pack hunters capable of taking down prey many times their own size." The next footage showed safari guides calmly driving vehicles within meters of lion prides. Some humans were even walking on foot through areas where lions were known to hunt. Counselor Orum's golden form trembled with anxiety. These humans deliberately placed themselves in proximity to creatures designed by evolution to kill efficiently. This suggests either extreme adaptation to danger or a species-wide death wish. Dr. Vexus presented his tactical analysis. "After reviewing extensive Earth nature footage, I have identified over 300 species on the human homeworld that pose significant threats to intelligent life. Humans coexist with all of them." The list was staggering. Grizzly bears, polar bears, tigers, lions, leopards, wolves, coyotes, venomous snakes, crocodiles, sharks, poisonous spiders, and dozens of other predators and dangerous creatures. Furthermore, Dr. Vexus continued, humans engage in recreational activities that deliberately expose them to these dangers. They call it camping, hiking, surfing, and wildlife photography. High Counselor Nexus was updating the official Federation assessment of humanity in real time. "It appears we have fundamentally misunderstood the nature of human civilization." Ambassador Kirix nodded. "Our initial evaluation classified humans as a peaceful, nature-loving species based on their environmental protection broadcasts. We now realize that their environmental protection efforts are actually species management programs designed to maintain stable populations of apex predators. They protect the very creatures that could kill them, Counselor Prism observed. This level of confidence in their own survival capabilities is unprecedented in Federation records. Dr. Vexis presented his final analysis. I believe humans achieved technological advancement not despite their dangerous environment, but because of it. Constant exposure to existential threats forced rapid adaptation and problem-solving evolution. The implications were profound. Every other species in the Federation had achieved spaceflight by first eliminating or controlling all threats on their homeworlds. Humans had done the opposite, maintaining and even protecting their planet's dangerous ecosystem while simultaneously developing advanced technology. What is your recommendation for future human contact protocols? High Counselor Nexus asked. Ambassador Kirix had spent considerable time formulating his response. Immediate upgrade to highest diplomatic priority. Humans represent a unique adaptation model that could prove invaluable for Federation expansion into hostile environments. Explain. Most Federation worlds are suitable for colonization only after extensive terraforming to eliminate dangerous elements. Humans appear capable of establishing thriving civilizations on worlds we would consider uninhabitable death traps. The Council was quiet for a long moment as they processed this assessment. Back on Earth, Li Hyun was finishing his own report to Earth Defense Command. The aliens were significantly more concerned about terrestrial wildlife than anticipated. Recommend future cultural exchanges be conducted in more controlled environments until they adapt to Earth conditions. Dr. Park Seo-jin looked up from her data analysis. Actually, I think we should show them more of Earth's ecosystem. They need to understand that humans and nature aren't separate things. We're part of the same planetary system. You want to take them somewhere with even more dangerous animals? Li Hyun asked incredulously. I was thinking Yellowstone. They could see wolves, bison, elk, maybe some grizzly bears. Really show them how diverse Earth's wildlife is. Li Hyun nearly choked on his coffee. You want to take aliens who panic at the sight of deer to see a place with wolves and grizzly bears? It would be educational, Dr. Park Seo-jin said innocently. Meanwhile, Kim Tae-ho was back in the mountains, leading another group of hikers along the same trail where they had encountered the bear. This time, his group consisted of a family with 2 small children and an elderly couple celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. When they reached the berry patch, Kim Tae-ho casually mentioned that a large brown bear had been feeding there just a few days earlier. The family was excited by the possibility of seeing such magnificent wildlife, and the elderly couple shared stories of their own bear encounters from decades of hiking. None of them requested emergency extraction protocols or tactical support. Nirian. The command center of the Harmony, Dr. Vexis was monitoring Earth's communication networks when he intercepted Kim Tae-ho's routine trail report, mentioning the bear encounter to park headquarters. Ambassador, he called urgently. The human guide is leading another group of civilians through the same area where we encountered the apex predator. The group includes juveniles and elderly individuals. Ambassador Kirix reviewed the transmission data. Are they requesting milita